Today I'm going to be showing you how I made this train scene in Blender. To start, take a bunch of photos of trains, the floor, the ceiling, the windows. You can find them online, but I found it easier to take them yourself since you don't have to worry about the photos not matching up. You can find all of my photos as well as the finished scene in the description. I'm basing the station off of this photo of Lake Station on the Red Line in Chicago. To do that, I'm using a program called F-Spy. It's free, and you can find a link in the description for it. It basically allows you to match up the camera with the image. I'm not going to go into the specifics since there are already many tutorials on how to use it. Anyway, once you're done with that, move on into Blender and hit Import F-Spy file. Find the file and import it. Add in a cube and start blocking in the station. Under Camera, you can make the background image display in front, and turn on the opacity to help you. Once you're done with that, hit U and then project from U. Then make a material with the color as the image. But you can see it looks janky. To fix that, put on a subsurf modifier and turn it to simple. Turn it up a little and the tile should be straight. Next, to make this little sign here, grab some of the edges and bring them out, matching them to the image. If the vertices don't align properly, just hit G twice to slide it over, and then G again to bring it back. This is a quick way to adjust the UVs a little without going to the UV editor. Then I made this whole sign set in a little bit by extruding. In the original image, the exit signs didn't glow, but I'm going to make them. Select the signs and create the copy of the material with the image going into emission. The left wall looks okay, but the right wall is kind of messed up. Instead of fixing it, I'll just mirror the left side across. Now I'll make the floor. Add in a plane and scale it up. I'll apply this marble texture to it that I made seamless in Photoshop. Now you can add your coordinate and your mapping thing to it, but there's a problem. When I scale it up, the tiling is really visible. To fix that, I like to use Blender Guru's Uber mapping node. The link is in the description. You replace the mapping node and turn up this mosaic rotation thingy. Currently, the wall looks like a painted piece of cardboard. We can fix that by adding roughness. Plug in the color of the image into the roughness, going through a color ramp node in between. Now you can play with the color ramp node until you get something you like. Do the same for the normal, with the bump map in between. Adjust the height to your liking. I did the same thing with the marble floor as well, except for the bump mark, because the floor is completely flat. Now let's make the tunnel wall. Add in a picture of the tunnel wall, adding loop cuts to the horizontal lines with Ctrl R. Start shaping the tunnel by displacing the loops around. Keep shaping the tunnel like this until you have something you like. You can fix the distortion by lining up the UVs with the tiles and adding loop cuts. Array it out. If any of the textures aren't repeating like this, you can usually fix them by rotating the UVs. You can model some basic tracks too if you like. Now do the same thing we did for the materials of the walls with the material of the tunnel. We'll work on the ceiling now. We'll create this horizontal thing, adding a cube and stretching it out. I'm applying this concrete texture and using the cube project to map it out. For the ceiling, I'll add a cylinder, rotate it, and delete the bottom vertices as well as the caps. Anytime you're looking at the inside of a shape, you want to flip the normals. Add the concrete texture and use the cube project again. Let's make the I-beams now. Add in a cube, scale it up, 2 loop cuts, scale them out, extrude them out, and move in the inside edges. I'm applying this rusted metal texture to them. Duplicate them around the station, and duplicate the other tunnel to the other side while you're at it. For the stairs, add in a cube and match it up with the first step in the camera view. Array it up. Edit the size of the step to try and match them up with the number and height of the stairs in the photo. The right side of the stairs are projected in this photo, so I'll delete them for now. Apply the array modifier and use the same material as the wall. Hit U, project from U again. Now you can mirror the stairs over to the other side. It's looking a little gloomy in here, so let's make some lights. Add in a cylinder and rotate it 90 degrees. Stretch it out and extrude the faces again. Now select some of the faces on top and extrude them up. Make a basic plastic material and apply it. Make a basic emission material too and assign it to the bulb. You can change the color depending on the mood. Duplicate all the lights around. But you want them to flicker, don't you? Select the emission material and hit I with your mouse, hovering over the emission strength. Go into the graph editor and add a noise modifier. Now you can make the line wibbly. Turn on the limits modifier too and check min and max Y. Change the max Y to the on brightness of the light and the min to the off brightness. Hit G to center the curve more. Now turn the strength of the noise way up and adjust the scale to something you like. Now the lights flicker, but they flicker in sync. To make them flicker differently, select New Light and click New Material, and change the offset to some different crazy number. Do the same for each light. Now they should flicker differently. Now let's work on the train. Add in a cube and use an image of a train. Line up the UVs. Most trains have this kind of slope roof, so to make that, add in some loop cuts and slide the corners down by double pressing G. Pull the center face out a little. Keep making the dome by adding more loops and adjusting the UVs as you go along. Add a bevel to this edge here with Ctrl B. Remember that trains also have the bottom part where the wheels go, so extrude the bottom out a little to account. Pull it back out. Select the side of the train and project it from a similar angle to the photo. This will save you some work in the UV editor. As you can see now, there are some issues. To fix the funhouse mirror effect, we can add 2 loop cuts where the stretching happens the most and line them up with the curve of the train in the UV editor. Add some loops and cut out the door. Extrude the door in and delete it. Well, don't worry about that, we'll add our own doors later. Do this for both doors. Add some bevels on the corners of the doors. Now cut out the windows. However, when we cut, you can see the image shifts and our cut is messed up. To reduce this, use the subsurf modifier like before and change it to simple. Now when we cut, it should stay. Extrude in the windows. Don't worry about this weird effect, it's caused by the subsurf, which we'll turn off later. Now do this to all the windows. Bevel in the corners and delete the windows faces. Now let's model this rectangular vent thingy. With the knife tool, cut out the shape. Adjust the UVs so we're not getting the cylindrical thing in the texture. I'll just flip them down. Extrude it out, knife the inside, and extrude it again. Straighten. Duplicate it. I'll cut out the UVs of these objects and move them to a different part of the string. I'm also modeling this traffic light thingy. Anyway, do the same with the material of the train as the walls and everything else. Don't overdo the bump without increasing the roughness, or the train will look like cling wrap. That's looking pretty good. Let's work on the inside now. We don't want the back wall to be whatever that is, so we'll make the material black. Make the material an emission with the color of pure black. Now I'll add in this photo of the ceiling of the train, adding in loop cuts like the tunnel wall. Cut out the windows and delete them. Straighten them out a little, and for the material, change the texture from going into color to going into emission. Then, make the color black. Do these for all the ceiling textures from now on. This allows our texture to be self-illuminated. That means we won't have to light the inside of the train car later on. Do this for some more and more images until most of the wall is colored. I'll import this picture of a wood panel and cut it out. And copy and paste it a bunch in the bottom part of the car to fill in the wall. Don't forget to join the meshes up with Ctrl J. To make the seats, add a cube and make it flat. Use a picture of a chair to texture it and line up the UVs. Paste this chair everywhere. Here, I only choose to do the seat back, but I decided later to add in the rest of the seat as well. I'm adding a picture of the top of the door frame and using the same method as before. However, instead of just cutting out the windows, I'll cut out the whole door. Copy the ceiling pieces until they cover the entire ceiling. Wherever there's a hole that's not a window, cover it up with a seat or a window piece. For the floor, simply scale up a photo of the floor and copy it throughout. Now we'll make the door. Import a photo of the door and line up the plane with the shape of the door. This door is warped a little, so I'll make some loops and move it in to remove the distortion. Cut out the windows as always, put it in the door frame and extrude it a little to give it some depth. Duplicate it to the other doors as well as the side of the train. Cover up the holes next to the door. The lighting is a little one-sided currently, so let's duplicate the ceiling face to the other side, and then spread them out. Finally, let's install some poles so people don't fall over while riding the train. Scale up a cylinder and give it a new material with 100% metalness and a low roughness. Duplicate it through the length of the train and across the other side too. Make one of these poles sideways and stretch it through all of them, and we're done. Now you're probably thinking, this train is absolutely terrible, but from the outside, through the windows, you actually can't tell. This is a great way to make a complex scene easily without spending several days on modeling each and every detail.